Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor. In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to the residence together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo camera saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October. Lance and Whitefeather busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd. The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with two of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs. Often Lance would describe physical punishment where he said he, quote, knocked one of them. We saw one text where Lance said, quote, somebody didn't say thank you, and his sandwiches disappeared. We also saw more video from Whitefeather's phone from their time in Washington that also showed yelling and physical abuse from Lance. A finance expert from the West Virginia Fusion Center, Alyssa Ledbetter, also took the stand on Friday. She broke down the adoption payments Whitefeather and Lance received from Minnesota. She said in total of what they analyzed from 2019 to 2023, the two received about $318,000 in adoption support payments, but she testified this didn't tell the whole story.
Well, the assistance began in June of 2018, and I only had from June of 2019 to November of 2023, so altogether we're missing about 18 months.
All of this leading up to the most harrowing testimony so far on Friday afternoon from someone who lived it. We are not allowed to film or record the victims who will testify in this case, but were in the room as the teen girl, now 18, but 16 at the time, shared what her life was like both in Washington State and in Sissonville. She said life progressively got worse with Whitefeather and Lance once they moved to the ranch in Washington in 2019. This is when the outdoor labor began, she said, and the physical punishments that included hits from a PVC pipe while under from 2019 to 2023 while under a child services investigation there in Washington. Eventually they moved to Sissonville, but she did not know why. She talked about how CBS was called soon after they arrived in West Virginia, and she detailed a visit from a worker who stayed on the porch and talked to them through the screen door. The teen testified she was not honest with CPS because Lance could hear her from where she was standing. Eventually, she and her teen brother, who has several mental health disorders, were locked in a shed in August of 2023. She said she went without a shower for 2 months and never changed clothes. She went from sleeping on a mattress to the floor with a sleeping bag. Her brother slept on the concrete floor with only cardboard at his head. She said she was forced to be his babysitter, but testified he was never the dangerous, violent kid that Lance and Whitefeather made him out to be. She recalled the use of physical violence, pepper spray, and racial slurs from Lance and Whitefeather. She recalled also being scared when police arrived at the shed, worried that she would say something to upset Whitefeather. Some of her more emotional moments came during cross-examination by Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants. At one point, he referred to Whitefeather as her mother, and she quickly corrected him. He questioned why some of her interviews before this contradicted what she said on the stand, but when Tuck asked her why she felt comfortable telling the truth now, she said, because I know I won't have to go back to that.
Shalom, shalom. I'm going to start by giving all glory, honor, and praises unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHWASHI, BAHASHAM, YAHWADAH. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone to teach them well. Peace and salutations be to the elect. I'm Brother Tazwan. I'm coming at you from the GMS Tampa branch down here in Tampa, Florida. Alright. This lesson is going to be going into this article, which I'm going to see if I can get all of it on video and put it in the intro, Lord willing. basically it says, update, it says white couple who adopted 5 black children to use as slaves were sentenced to a combined total of 375 years in prison. All right. So these old people, you know, they look like they got about 10 to 15 more years left in them. Maybe 15 to 20. You know, the Edomites though, so they finna be put in the slammer. And they might be next to Jake in there. And you know how Jake get down. Alright? But these devils had adopted 5 children just to use them as slaves. You know? And what kind of nonsense is that? Alright, that's just pure hatred. You adopted these children who had no parents to take care of them, you know, just to do what? Torture them? To bring them to live in those times? To see what it was like or whatever? Or to rekindle that feeling? Alright? I say the children was living under harsh conditions, sleeping on the floor, getting their ass beat. Alright? Eating a peanut butter sandwich and that's it. Okay? It was 5 of these children. They were afraid to even speak up. They had cameras all in the basement, or wherever they were sleeping. It looked like they were sleeping in the basement. They had cameras all up in there watching them every step of the way, making sure they don't try to escape or this or that. They had to cover themselves up when they was using the restroom. They had the restroom in there with them. It was like an open toilet. Shit was sick, man. Okay, but these devils have these devils would have gotten away with it if nobody caught them, you know. These Edomites don't believe in crime, don't believe it's a crime to do these things to Jake. All right, but laws are passed, like the Constitution tells you that you're not a slave unless you commit a crime. All right, I mean you got to go to jail and slave in jail. Okay. These devils have, you know, legally kidnapped these children. Legally kidnapped these children and forced them to do slave labor. All right. Now, if this ain't hatred, what is? So let's grab it. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 5. It's like in the book of Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So they have had a perpetual hatred. That means forever. Okay, an everlasting hatred against who? The Israelites, the true Israelites. Alright, they hate our skin color, but they in the sun burning themselves to get it. They hate our big luscious lips. Alright, but they getting lip injections, petroleum and all sorts of fillers. Alright, they hate our woman's beautiful bosoms and buttocks. Alright, but they getting butt shots and they getting boob enhancements. Alright, to make themselves look like that curvy. They trying so hard to make themselves look that curvy shape that Jake got. If they could get hip replacement, they would. Jake naturally got them hips. That's one thing these Edomites don't got is hips. Kid you not, you ain't gonna be able to find the Edomite with hips on her unless she got some other kin inside of her, unless she got some other nationality inside of her. But these Edomites, yeah man, they got broad shoulders. They got them sharp ass shoulders with no hips, man. That's one way you always be able to identify an Edomite woman. Alright, they ain't got no fucking hips. Alright, but the scriptures say what? They had a perpetual hatred against Jacob. Okay? And continuously shed our blood. Alright? Let's grab this. In the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. They are already ashamed for the violence that they did against us. They're trying to get rid of slavery out of the history books. They don't want their children to grow up being ashamed. Here it is, you got the whole world looking up at Jake. Scriptures say, what? He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? These devils honor us, all right? Not these older devils, but their children are coming out to find that Jake is the next big thing. Jake is popping. Everybody listening to hip-hop music. Everybody got the J's on, the Nikes or whatever. Everybody trying to dress like Jake. Everybody trying to talk like Jake. Everybody want to rap like Jake. Okay? Play sports and be like Jake. A lot of these Edomites, these baby Edomites, idols, okay, the celebrities they look up to are all Jakes. Okay, so when they growing up in a school and they finding out that their forefathers and their ancestors was oppressing the people that they look up to, it don't feel so good. They got to come home and have that talk like they're ashamed. Okay, and these parents don't feel like explaining no more. All right? Yeah, they teaching it, but as the time goes on, that shit's getting older and older, and Jake is coming back into the light again. These nations are starting to glorify Jake again because the curses are flipping. Even the Edomite women are fleeing from their own men and running to Jake. Okay? You got Edomites going to bat, ready to fight for Jake. All right? This wasn't the same case 80 years ago. 80 years ago, Jake was still segregated, getting their ass beat for coming into the wrong neighborhood, man. Still getting bullied. All right? But Jake still suffered from those curses, from that slavery, from that hardcore slavery that these Edomites benefited from, man. Okay? These Edomites able to buy houses. Jake can't even imagine buying a fucking house, man. Jake can barely rent a house. In Jake's eyes, buying a house means paying the first month deposit for rent. That's how Jake see it. But these Edomites talking about dropping $300,000. Oh yeah, the house industry. What the fuck is even that? Jake don't know nothing about that. Okay, a small percentage do, but majority of Jake, they don't have those type of talks. They not having these type of talks. Buying property, buying houses, passing it down, the lineage, the bloodline. No, Jake having talks about surviving. Surviving the fucking day. These Edomites talking about living in comfort 300 years from now, 4 generations from now. Jake talking about surviving for the day. What we gonna eat tonight for dinner? How we gonna put it on the table? All right, how we gonna get the money to do that? How we gonna pay the bills? You know? These devils ain't worried about it. You think these devils are worried about that shit, man? So here it is. You got these Jakes. That's why, you know, part of this lesson as well is to tell you Jakes to be responsible for your children, man. Take responsibility for your children. If you ain't gonna take responsibility for them children, you shouldn't be opening your legs or you shouldn't be releasing your seed. You can't you ain't in a position where you can raise children comfortably, then don't have them. Stop going out here and just recklessly having sex, man. All right, this is a sacred act. An act used to bind man to woman, to bind woman to man, Salakia. Slip of the tongue. All right, to bring one and one together, man. Okay, to bring two together and to make one. Or if Jake want to have multiple wives, to bring multiple women to that one man and make one. Okay? But if you ain't ready for that pressure, man, you going to put your kids up for adoption because you feel like you can't bear the weight of your own decisions, then don't have them. You see? Because this is what they doing to our children. They taking our children and adopting them. These Edomites are adopting Jake. It's the scariest sight, man. I seen it when I was growing up. You know? First time seeing it when I was a kid, like 7 or 8. And I was at my friend's house. And, you know, we had just moved into the suburban area with the Edomites. You know? I've never seen so many Edomites in one place, man. But anyway, I'm at my friend's house. You know, I wouldn't say these devils are rich, but they're wealthy. You know, they got money. You know? So I'm at his house, and his cousins come over. I'm like, your cousin's coming over? Yeah. And, you know, he's adopted. You know, he was Northern Kingdom, Ephraim. But he's actually adopted himself, you know. He was adopted to some Edomite parents, okay? And they treated him like he was actually their son, man. Like, he was actually their son, all right? His cousins that came over were cousins of those that adopted him. And when they got there, they had some adopted children too. And they were Southern Kingdom, straight Judites. I'm like, man, he got the nappy hair and all. You know, he was a little kid. He was little, like almost a baby, man. But he had the nappy hair and everything. They had a few of them. And all I see is them grinning faces, some grinning Edomite serpent-looking faces, smiling ear to ear. Hi, how are ya? You know. What's that SpongeBob episode? Mr. Clean SpongeBob or something? I don't know, man. But the one when he was shaped like a fucking circle, Mr. Perfect. Perfect SpongeBob or whatever. You watch that episode, you know what I'm talking about. They talk just like him. I don't see all these devils, Edomite devils, coming in the house, and they got little nigglets running around. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know, I was young, so I don't understand, but what the fuck going on, man? You know, later on, I grew up a little bit more, and that friend, the Ephraimite friend I had, he was ended up telling me how he was getting sexually abused, man, when he was younger. All right? So ain't no telling what these jakes are going through under the care of these Edomites. When you give your children away, man, putting them up for adoption and shit because you don't want to face the consequence of your decisions. Or you was burning at the time, but you don't want to deal with the fact you was burning. Or you accidentally had a child. When you give your children to these Edomites, they hate them. These are our enemies you're letting adopt your children, man. These are our enemies. All right? I'm pretty sure there's plenty of testimonies of Jake growing up. Man, if you look at the shit, even just having an Edomite mom, Jake have an Edomite mom, the Edomite side of her family, they grow up, the Edomites calling her, the children, the hard R, the N word with the hard R at the end. Even the mom doing it. Racial slurs. I remember having a woman that she was Jake, but her mom's side was Edomite. And she told me she faced racism all her life growing up. Okay? Just about every mixed woman I dated, half and half woman I dated, said the same thing. Okay? So this is, it will behoove you, man. Matter of fact, let me grab this. Deuteronomy. So this is also a curse. All right? Jake is fucked up. Jake fucked up on pork. Jake fucked up on soul food. Soul food is really just slave food, man. You go into it, soul food is really slave food. That shit unhealthy, loaded with all types of sugar and oils. Okay, fried chicken, baked beans, mac and cheese, collard greens. All right, them collard greens loaded with all types of fucking salt. Way too much. Okay, Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid's is liquid death, man. Now you got actual water called liquid death or whatever. But Kool-Aid is the true liquid death. That shit ain't nothing but sugar and food dyes to fuck up your nervous system. All right? To make you not be able to focus. To not be able to think straight. To not be able to see what's really going on around you. Okay? Increases your anxiety issues and nervousness. All right? It fucks with your nerves, man. You ever hear Jake say, you getting on my nerves? Nah, it's that Kool-Aid getting on your fucking nerves. All them food dyes you eating getting on your nerves. Quite literally. What's this? Deuteronomy 28. This book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. So Jake used to giving up their children, having their children snatched from them. Okay, they ain't them generational curses, man. Jake keep talking about, oh, it's a generational curse. We breaking generational curses. Nigga, ain't no breaking this one. The Lord got to break this curse. That's the curses of Deuteronomy 28. This is the only people you hear talking about generational curses. You don't hear Elam talking about that shit. You don't hear Moab or Esau talking about generational curses. You hear Jake talking about that shit, man. We can't stay out of prison. We can't stop robbing, stealing. We got to break the generational curse this time, y'all. Nah, man. The generational curse that's placed upon our people is what? Deuteronomy 28. The curses of Deuteronomy 28. That's how you find out who you really are. You got to understand your enemies have captured you. Jake wake up and come into this life never fully understanding that he is surrounded by his own enemies, that he was captured and brought here by his enemies, and he's still surrounded by them today, and they're still actively oppressing us today. Jake, grow up, become an old man, and never truly understand this. Jake become coons. The elder apostle, the elder brother, one of the elder brothers brought out a lesson, Christian simps. Okay? I got a Christian simp at my job, man. It pains me to see him. Man, you need to get married, and God don't like ugly. You better go get married than be talking to that girl and not married to that girl. And nigga, you fail for the system. True marriage is laying down and going into a woman, a virgin woman. This is true marriage. Okay? Nevertheless, you go into a woman that's not a virgin, that's still marriage. All right? But marriage is not signing up to the court system. And, man, if you get married through this fucking system of Babylon here, bro, you're giving that woman power over half of everything you own. All right? And whatever you want to do dealing with your marriage with that woman has to go through the courts, through the government. They own your marriage. Okay? It's a video, you can search it up, but it's going into the triad of marriage. You're supposed to be man, YAHAWASHI, and woman. Okay? It's supposed to be like a triangle. A man on the bottom left, the woman on the bottom right, and at the top of the triangle is supposed to be YAHAWASHI. All right, but these devils replaced it with the government, okay, and put YAHAWASHI at the bottom of the triangle, even underneath the man and the woman, okay, as if he's not as important as the court is in this triad, okay. It's still the triangle, but the Lord ain't sitting on either one of the points of the triangle. He's sitting outside of the triangle on the bottom. All right, and that's the system that they set up for you in marriage in this system. So that's what that Christian simp did. He's a part of that shit, and he trying to push it on everybody else to do it. Nigga, that's the coon on the plantation, man. Everybody looking at him like he the coon on the plantation. All right, you too damn old. This man is too old to be so deceived. Our elders have failed us. That's why we got new elders, all right, in the truth, who have succeeded and have taught the right things. All right, started off as young men teaching. It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given into another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. Because Jake used to actually care about their children. When your children got taken from you, it used to really affect you. But now Jake giving away their children. Now Jake running to the abortion clinics. Okay? Just so they can go get popped again and go back and abort the baby again. And these devils ain't looking at you crazy. Yeah, girl, your body, your choice. Do what you gotta do. Even the people that's doing the abortions, they not fully acknowledgeable on what they're doing. They haven't fully acknowledged what they're actually doing. Child sacrifice. They grow up in school thinking that this is just a career. No, nigga. You are actually giving these babies over to Baal. All right? Wherever you shipping them off to, right? You find out that they putting all these aborted babies in these red bags or whatever, putting them in big ass containers and shipping them off. What do you think they're going to? They don't put them in a regular trash can. going to, man. They're going to get sacrificed to these devil's gods, man. And then they finna eat your baby that you aborted. This is what you really wanted for your child? You don't see it as a life, so you gave it over to Baal? Don't you understand you're doing witchcraft when you do this shit? You commit a grievous sin. Not only murder, alright, but witchcraft. The sin of witchcraft. Sacrificing your children to pagan gods. Whether you know it or not, you still committed that iniquity. You still committed that sin. Alright? Sin is not sin is not passed off just because you're ignorant to it. You commit adultery with a woman and didn't know that it was adultery according to the scriptures, you still committed that sin. Okay? You still committed that crime. You just did it in ignorance. Alright? But yeah, man, the real point of the lesson is, Jake, you having kids, man, deal with your kids. Deal with your decisions. Be responsible as an Israelite. Alright? Because you really putting our people through much more hell rather than you just dealing with them. You know? I grew up in a poor household. We didn't have much. You know, I had maybe 4 outfits every school year. Same shoes. A lot of them was worn down. A lot of them was hand-me-downs. Okay? And a lot of the times I stunk. And the kids shooed me away and shit. You know? I didn't have much. But it's a lot better than growing up with these fucking Edomites who don't really love you and don't really care for you. You know? And grew up in a single-parent home. My mother did everything she could. Housing 7 kids. Okay? I know it's not an easy thing, man. Alright? But at least she dealt with her decision. Jake ain't trying to deal with their decisions and just giving their kids away, shipping their children away. Scripture calls the Israelite woman like the ostrich. Alright? She lay her eggs and then gets up and walks all over them, not even considering that her eggs were there. As if they weren't even hers. Crushing the babies. And that's how evil Eve is, man. She's like the fucking ostrich. There was once upon a time where Jake did long for their children. Alright? But they beat that shit out of Jake, man. What we have to do now is retrieve that natural affection that we have for each other. Alright? And stand up and worship and serve the Lord. YAHAWASHI. He's going to come near to us again. But with that, I truly hope this lesson was edifying to you. I'll give it out to listen in truth and sincerity. So next semester, I give all glory, honor, and praises unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, MAKAKWADASH. Shalom. Abad the